The Iron Man Rodtang sets his sights on Jonathan Haggerty for an iconic trilogy. This is the One Championship Media Show, this time on Fighting with Friends. Welcome back to Fighting with Friends, the undisputed African fighting podcast champion of the world. This is the One Championship Media Show, and with me today is the reigning, defending, undisputed vegan champion of the world. That is, of course, Brother Gaia.
Yes. What's up, AD?
What's happening, BG? Back again,
So
back
good.
again. So, like I said, this is the One Championship Media Show, and our top story, BG, is who's next for Rodtang. So, as the article suggested that I showed you yesterday, I'll just share it
Mhm.
briefly with the fans here.
Okay.
This is from scmp.com, and we can see, as the headline suggests, Rodtang hints fight with Haggerty under any rules. So, BG, what do you make of this, bruh? This is, of course, leading up to a trilogy if it does happen. Rodtang winning both fights, first by unanimous decision and second by third round TKO. So,
Yes,
what are your
sir.
thoughts here, bruh? Immediate reaction.
I remember we heard about this fight announcement potentially in the press conference, post-fight press conference of 172 at Saitama Arena. I remember Chaudhry Sittatong was saying that immediately he was like, "No, thanks, fighting Nagadi next. That's the super fight to make in Denver." Because I think my first initial reaction was like, "No, ooh, not that fight. I don't want to see that fight." But I can understand why, from a business standpoint, for the one championship, those two athletes are one of the biggest international pools for one championship. They have the largest numbers for them, especially when they go to an American event or an American fight card. Rodtang is guaranteed to bring them numbers. Haggerty is also up there since the last Denver card against Super League. I can understand why they're making that decision. Also, it's a trilogy fight. They fought in the past before. But I mean, Rodtang won both those fights quite convincingly. So it's like, yes, I get it was in flyweight. I know it was a weight below. Haggerty wasn't the Haggerty we see now. Fight may look different. I get that. I'm pretty sure it will be a very different fight. But I just feel like, as a fight fan, I think there are other fights for Rodtang to take on, especially when Rodtang came out and said on his Instagram page that this is his last, sort of his last gasp at his career. This is his final third. You know what I mean? The final act of his fighting career. He wants to have super fights, and he was talking about two or three more super fights before he ends his career. I think it's a bit shocking because he's only 27 years old. I know he has almost 300 fights, but I mean he's 27 years old. He can still go out there and really stamp himself as the greatest psych of all time ever to grace any sort of arena or stadium. You know what I mean? And he can do that. And I just don't think that the Haggerty fight's going to get him there. You know what I mean? I think everyone who knows Rodtang and who knows Haggerty as well is like, is Peter Haggerty going to be that much of a thing for Rodtang's career? Is it going to be that much of a boost to solidify his legendary status? I don't think so. I don't know if you share the same sentiment. Let us know in the comments, please. But I don't think it's going to be that much of a boost for Rodtang's legacy if he beat someone who he already beat twice quite convincingly. I think fights for him, if he wants to go to bantamweight, there's now Bill. Rematch Super League, the guy who beat you. He's the only guy to beat you in one championship. And you rematch that dude. Nabil's a perfect puzzle for someone like Rodtang to go and fight. That would be a fight that would sell at Denver. You know what I'm saying? John Lineker, maybe. I don't think so. Again, it would be make for an amazing fight to watch because they're both two hardcore strikers. But it's not going to give Rodtang that much of a cap. You know what I mean? It's not going to give him a big boost. What is John Lineker going to give him? Not a title shot. You know what I'm saying? And from where I'm standing right now, Rodtang doesn't have a title. He's without the belt. You know what I'm saying? So I think there's other fights that would have made better sense for Rodtang in my mind. Like, for example, fighting for the vacant Muay Thai flyweight title. That would be absolutely amazing. There's some killers in that division right now that's waiting to fight for that title. Something like that. And then maybe go and make a double champ status again. Go up to bantamweight, take on Haggerty for the kickboxing title. Poof, now you got kickboxing and Muay Thai. Maybe go and take on Super League for the flyweight kickboxing. All those options are there. So I think like that would make a better fight than fighting Jonathan Haggerty next. But I can see why, from a business standpoint, why that would make a good fight.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of very good points there, BG. Myself personally, I did, when Nabil and Ane won the title, I did call for that fight immediately. I
You
do
did.
want to see that fight, Anane versus Rodtang. So very interested in that one. Super League, of course, everybody wants to watch that. Everybody wants to see Rod back. And yeah, again, the commercial appeal of Jonathan Haggerty is definitely there for everyone to
Yes.
see. The John Lineker fight, I don't like. I think
No.
it's obviously going to be entertaining because it's a spectacle. It's the Hands of Stone, but yeah,
Mm.
John Lineker's level in terms of Muay Thai is just not there to challenge the elite of the sport quite yet. And I don't foresee him getting there. So I don't like that fight.
Mm.
But there's an interesting spot here in the other category, bro, and there's someone that I want to talk about here, and his
Who do you
name is
have in mind?
Kenshin Nasukawa.
Who
Um,
was talking about this guy? Sorry, go on. Someone mentioned this name.
so he's currently a boxer,
Mm.
um, but he's 6-0 in boxing. He fought Floyd Mayweather, and he was quite convincingly dominated in that bout. It was an exhibition boxing match. I'm not sure if you've seen it.
Mm-mm.
But
No,
this
I
kid,
haven't.
yeah, he fought Floyd Mayweather in an exhibition boxing match. He got dominated quite. It was quite embarrassing to be fair.
I'm sure.
But he's quite inexperienced as a boxer. But the reason I have him on the screen here is because as a kickboxer, BG, this man
Mm.
is undefeated. He has
Huh?
never lost a kickboxing match. And what's even more interesting, so there's the Mayweather loss, right?
Oh, I see. I see it.
Um,
Yes.
and what's more interesting, bruh, is that I'm sure you'll see a very familiar name on the list. Um, wait, did I miss it now?
Masak. No, it's he's too big. I'm looking. And he fought Kyuji Yoriguchi. Are you nuts? Yo, he's fought
Yeah, but
the
so
guys.
this man's been around the block in kickboxing, and like I said, he's undefeated, bruh. And like he's really like he's that guy in Japan when it comes to kickboxing. Of course, Takeru
Ooh.
is Japanese royalty, but this is
Yeah.
the guy apparently, from what I'm told, in Japan,
Yes.
bruh. So I think
What's his name again?
Nasukawa, Tenshin Nasukawa.
Asakawa. Okay.
Yeah. So look, if as far as that other slot goes, bruh, I'm very
Yes.
interested to see.
He's also
I'd
got
love
the.
to see this guy in the one
Am I?
championship.
He's got
So
the look.
so yeah, let's go. Let us know in the comments, ladies and gentlemen, your
I
thoughts on
do
that
have
one.
one more name. I do have one more name I can throw in there.
Yeah, please.
Um, so if okay, I'm gonna quickly just show my screen. It's just the quick rankings. Let bring back your screen in a moment. Um, it's the flyweight Muay Thai rankings, right? And you will notice on this list that Johannes Stupanian is in there, and the name that was there was Nong O. Now, the next Fight Night event for One Championship is headlined by Kong Tongwani versus Nong O 2. They're having a rematch. Their first fight was for number one contender spot for that vacant title. So now they're going to have a rematch again. Now, that indicates to me that the One Championship was actually hoping that Nong O would have won that first fight against Kong Tongwani to make a massive fight, 8-time former One Championship to take on, Rodtang, the 3 or 4-time champion. Boom, let's put
Mm,
them together for the vacant title because Super League's gonna fight against Nabil Anan, obviously. So why I'm bringing up this name is come that rematch, which is gonna happen in a month's time, I think, between Kong Wani and Nong O. The winner there can definitely make a shout for that vacant title against Rodtang, and I would love to see either one of them. I mean, wouldn't you want to see Nong O against Rodtang, or even Kong Wani, who's been on a tear at the moment? Like that for me would make more sense because then if Rodtang wins that fight, he's got the champion status again, and then he can really make a. Because then if he goes for super fight after that, it's almost undeniable. I mean, it's already undeniable. But if he's got a champion to put on the line, a championship to put on the line against another champion, you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
That's big money fights. That
that's
so
massive. Yeah.
yeah, that's just where I'm at with it for that other spot.
Fair comment, fair comment. So yeah, lots to discuss here. But just to make one more point on Tenshin Nasukawa, bro, because I'm like, when I've discovered this guy, I was just super hyped to like see his record first of all, and then to see that he had actually beaten Rodtang.
Mm,
But just to get back to his record, he is undefeated since 2014, bro. And I think especially now with Rodtang having just beaten Takeru, bro, Japan are
yeah,
super keen to get that back now. that sets it up for an absolutely
Yeah,
mouth-watering affair here, bro. So, but
does.
yeah, I don't know. I think I'm a bit biased because I'm super hyped on this Tension Nasukawa guy.
I mean,
But yeah, all
can
these
see why.
fights definitely would sell. But yeah, I'm firmly in that Tension camp because I think there's a lot at stake in terms of the whole Japan versus
Mm,
Thailand
mm. There's a
saga. So
story
yeah,
there.
super hyped
There's
for
a
that. Yeah.
storyline. I can see it. I can see where you're going with it. It's just I
Mm,
think one championship. If you think about that 172 card, there were three fighters on that card from Japan. That one championship didn't. They weren't contracted. They were contracted just for that one event only. So it's like one fight contracts. What it
mm,
indicates to me is that they struggled to find because that was like a super card. It was meant to be like a mega card, and a lot of the athletes on that card weren't actually under the one championship branch or banner.
mm,
So I just
mm,
wonder where they're at with that because they aren't able to even land Naraka Yoshinari as a one championship fighter, and he's been fighting at least three fights under their brand already as one fight contracts. You know
mm.
what I mean? They may or may not be able to get someone with that kind of pedigree in tension. What's his surname?
Nasukawa.
Nashikawa.
But I
But I
think
mean, I will campaign for that. Let's do a hashtag on Twitter and say, let's get Nashikawa in a one championship, please.
absolutely. I'm super all in on that. But just also I think because I was watching a documentary and this is kind of where I discovered Tenshin Nasukawa and the whole idea is that um, K1 kickboxing and Rising in Japan like they pay quite well. You know what I mean?
Oh,
So
okay.
and in terms of how celebrated the athletes are in Japan. Like if you
Mm,
a
mm,
K1 kickboxing champion in Japan, bro, you are the shit, bro. You that guy, you know what I mean? But
yeah, yeah.
if you were a one championship kickboxing champion, it doesn't necessarily translate to
Mm,
being adored by the Japanese people, man. So that's
yeah.
why these Japanese kickboxers are more inclined to try and stay in Japan because they want to like win over the locals, and you live quite a cushy life, bro,
I
as
hear
a
you.
celebrated athlete in your home country. So yeah, I
Mm,
think that's a
mm.
big factor. But yeah, again, would be super hyped to see Tenshin Nasukawa in the one
Yes, sir.
championship.
You could also argue that K1 has been around. Not even argue; it's a fact. It's been around longer than one championship. So there's a lot more pedigree to the
Mm,
name, to the brand. You know, it's a long-standing. How long has K1 has been going on? I wasn't even alive. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? I remember Mike Bernardo was one South Africa's K1 champions, and this was like hundreds of thousands of years ago. So that must tell you that it's been around a long. So if you have K1 under your name, it means you've got a high pedigree of striking. One
Mm,
championship. How long have they been around for? But when did you check? When did you start this? 20 teens or something like that?
yeah, and K1's been around since '93.
Look there. Since the
Yeah,
year that I was born, basically.
yeah. So there you go. But yeah, again, lots of good fights possible here for Rodtang. But even if it's not his next fight with tension, at some point,
Mm,
because that was the next thing I also wanted to mention is, of course, he mentioned that uh, he might only have two more fights,
there you
two
go.
more fights on his
Yeah.
like in what he wants after the Jonathan Haggerty fight. So yeah, at least one of those fights with tension, bro, would be super
Yeah.
sick, bro. And then I'd be like, okay, retire, bro, because he's earned it. He's been fighting now for since the womb, basically, bro. So
Since the move,
you know,
yeah. Yeah,
so
yeah. You're
yeah,
right,
bro,
two super.
let him ride off into the sunset, enjoy the time with his new kids, you know,
I think
his
it's
new
worth it.
baby, whatnot. Yeah, he deserves it, bro.
So
And of
that's
course,
a so that's a sign. Hey, sorry.
no, I mean, of course, he'll stay in the game. I'm sure he'll be like, in a coaching capacity
Coach.
or like even just as a gym owner. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I can see that. So it sounds like that fight with Haggerty has been pretty much determined before the Takeru fight already. It looks
Mm,
like it. Being put out a statement like that, and the way Chowdhury put out a statement about Haggerty post fight against Takeru it was like instant. So it sounds like that fight was already made for a while. So yeah, let's see what happens after Haggerty because he's talking like Haggerty's going to be the next one already. So now what happens after that? Who's the super fight? So hopefully, let's see we get tension in there. It'll be freaking insane. Yo, it'll be mad. But it'll be another kickboxing fight. It won't be a Muay Thai fight. But I don't think it matters to Rodtang.
Yeah,
in
yeah.
a
I
fight
mean,
either
again,
or.
ladies and gentlemen, drop us a comment there. Let us know your thoughts. A lot to discuss here and super hype for the future for Rodtang. But okay, BG, we'll transition
Yep.
to our next story, and I'll let you take it from here, bro.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's put me on screen. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So the other updated media that came out this last week of One Championship is the ongoing rivalry between Shingiz Allazov and Superbon, dated back to when they first fought in January 2023. Where I'm going to put it on screen quickly just to remind y'all what started this rivalry. At the time, Superbon was the champion, the featherweight kickboxing champion. He took on Shingiz. Shingiz annihilated him. Let me see if I can bring it up here.
We still stuck. We
Did you
still
see that?
watching the same. Now we still got the same screen. Twitter.
Oh, Twitter. Twitter, why are you doing this to me, Twitter? Let me just quickly. I have the wrong one on. It's the. But could you hear that though? You couldn't hear anything.
Nah.
Okay, that's fine. But this fight, this rivalry has gone back since 2023 when Shingiz, like I said, took out Superbon.
Up his head offline because Ching is feeling it right now.
Oh snap!
Did you see that fight, AD? I watched that
Breakdown
fight live.
snaps, bro. Damn.
So I watched that fight live, and I was in awe the same way you were because I had Superbon winning that fight. Like I was like, nah, he's gonna win this dude. The only way I thought he would maybe lose is if he get body punched the hell out of him, which he did, by the way. Chingiz was just standing it on him. Anyway, that happened then. Since that time, Superbon was obviously campaigning for the rematch because Chingiz held the title, but he was very inactive since that fight. He actually hadn't fought since that fight. He was going through a lot of injuries, and that
Yeah.
made his comeback quite difficult.
Since
Superbon, excuse me,
2023, right?
yeah,
That happened in
2023, correct? Yeah,
2023. Yeah.
2023. So Superbon then fought on, reclaimed the title, fought Smoking Joe, which is one of the fights we did live together, myself and New 80. And then after that fight, Superbon did an interview with Nick Atkins, which where we got this post from on Twitter. We'll put the link in the description. Superbon was saying, listen, he wants that fight. He wants that fight against Shingiz as soon as possible. Doesn't know why he relinquished the title, but it turns out it's because of all the injuries. And he isn't contacted by Championship anymore. He's actually a free agent. He's not signed to any sort of organization at this current time. So it's like he was campaigning to get that fight back. Then when Tawan Chai lost to Noiri, it meant that now Superbon has to defend his kickboxing title against Noiri. And that's when Chingiz came up onto a podcast with Nick Atkin, which is also on his YouTube page, talking about how he would love to see that matchup between Noiri and Tawan Chai. And he says, regardless of who wins, but more likely, if Superbon does win that fight, he's coming back to get that title. And he even said easy money. And then this was Superbon's response to that post or that message from Shingiz. Hope you can hear this.
Because you're not gonna see him fight. We're not gonna see him fight. So why we talking about like people that not gonna fight?
He said as well last time if he sees you in Bangkok going to fight in the street, is that real?
I hope so. I hope so. Not here in Thailand. Or everywhere.
He's here.
Everywhere. No, I mean like if you gonna fight me in the street, let's see. I can go to Pattaya.
He's here this week with his Roman Quicklier. Yeah. Let's see. I don't
See if we meet.
know. I would love to see it. One.
Because
Okay, so that was an interview at the end, at the closing time of Fight Night 30, which is what we did the live to last week. And that's because I think Superbon and Shingiz was both at this event. That was the first time they had seen each other since 2023. And Shingiz was in the corner of Kriklia, but they kind of just like, brushed shoulders. Didn't really say anything to each other. But before I continue with it, is there any thoughts on this one, 80, between these two gentlemen and Superbon's claims there?
Yeah, look, I think let it play. We'll play the whole saga
Okay.
out, and then I'll give my kind of feedback after that.
Okay. So then there was a response from my guy. Shingiz.
Him
So let's rewind it. And this is his response to Superbon.
with Superbon. You guys didn't cross over though. Did you see him here?
No, I did. did see to him yesterday. But maybe I see him in life. I come to him and one question: what he need? He like what? Maybe he like, I don't know, street, MMA, and other. But I say kickboxing, Muay Thai for me, no problem.
I saw him yesterday. He still wants to fight with you. He says you're still running from him.
I don't like this talk all time high. I don't people who talk is simple. He talks simple. I talk with him is simple. He like high talk. I say like knockout him in second round. For me, easy fight, Superbon. He like fight. I don't know. Send me location, guys. I say before in another guys send me location. For me, no problem.
The other guy says, "Small of Habib." The other guy says, "Send me location." Yeah, so that was his response to that. I mean, as you can see there on screen, it's just more of the same thing, semi-location. That's what
Yeah.
concluded the last moments of their two sort of back and forth. So,
Mm.
Eddie, give me your thoughts, my friend, on that one. I personally would love to see this fight happen. Shingi's only 31 years old, Superbon's 35. So I think, like, dude, there's still time for them to make this fight before either one of them sorts of hang up the gloves.
Yeah, bro, absolutely. I mean, you said Superbon's been calling to get this one back, and I think that making a noise in the media is definitely an interesting play because this isn't something that we see often from one championship athletes,
No.
bro. Making call outs in the media, calling for street fights and things like that. To be honest with you, bro, I'm here for it, bro. I think this is a component that's lacking in the one championship. This
There we
kind of
go.
outside and theatrics and things like that. And for
Yes.
someone like me, bro, again, full disclosure, bro, I'm not as much of a purist as you are
Mm.
in
Mhm,
terms of
mhm.
like the sport. So theatrics, bro, I'm here for it, bro.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
adds to the product for me. So yeah, I'm definitely here for the gamesmanship, bro, and I hope that we can
Yes.
see this fight. I think again, it's
Please.
definitely an aspect that the one championship's been lacking, because their
Yeah.
product is very good in terms of
Mhm.
delivering when it comes to the fighting and actually doing
Yeah.
the business. But I think they could be doing a lot more to sell fights to a wider audience for sure.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Especially when they're trying to rack up quite a much of a international pool. At the
Mm,
moment they're big in Asia, but internationally people don't really give them that much respect, if we're being honest. So I do think that you're onto something there and having this in the media because I do believe that these two gentlemen on screen, even though they're doing what they're doing, there's still a little bit of respect between the two of them of like, you know what, you know, Superbon wouldn't be going on like this if he didn't feel that Shingigs can actually beat him again. You know what I'm trying to say? Because he feels that, okay, this guy beat me in that fashion and he probably can do it again. I want to get him back and I want to fight him so badly. And it's making for quite a spectacle for us fans. And even Shingigs to play along with it, being like, semi location. I think that is brilliant that
yeah.
he does that. I think it's a good idea to bring in the fans. And like I said, he's 31 years old. That one's 35. I definitely think that they can run it back. Um, the matter of the roadblock here is Masaki Noiri. That's the roadblock
Mm,
because he's now the interim champion and he's also calling up for Superbon because he wants to unify the title. So they're gonna have to make that fight happen ASAP so we can get
yeah.
Shingigs back in there because he is rightfully the champion. He didn't lose the title. He had to relinquish the title. So I personally think that when he comes back, he gets a title shot immediately. What do
But you
you think?
mentioned he had quite a few injuries, so is he like fighting
He-
fit now and ready to go?
no, he's still. I think in an interview with Nick Atkin, he was saying that he's still recovering from it, and you could see that when he's in the corner of quickly over the weekend, he was swollen, bro. Shingiks never looked that swollen. It's almost unusual to see him that size. So that's a sign to me. I think he did say he's walking at 200 pounds. I think so. He's
Yeah.
way over the limit. Fight at 145 or 150. So yeah,
Sheesh.
he needs to cut down a lot more before he can even come back. If he, I'm not even sure if he can actually make featherweight again. But let's see. Let's see what happens. Is there any last thoughts, Eddie, before I go on to my last article for this episode?
Yeah, just I mean, if they got time, if he still isn't fight fit, then yeah, make that Masaki Noiri fight, make it happen, and then win, lose, or draw, bruh. Let's make this one happen too, because
Mm,
either way, you
mm,
can justify this fight happening, even if it's for the title or if not. So
no,
yeah, let's
yeah,
make that happen. One championship,
definitely
Chowdhury, book
agree.
it, bruh. Book it.
Let's go.
Let's
Okay,
go.
80. I'm gonna go on to my last article. I just recently found out about this earlier in the day, and that's why I brought it up only now. I didn't send it to because it's not that big of it's not a long story, but it is quite massive. And over the weekend, we noticed what's his name? I'm gonna pause
And
it.
the first and second round.
Here we go. So we noticed an absolute spectacle between the fight between Seksan, the man who yields to nobody, versus Asa Ten Pow. Remember, that was a beautiful fight, 80. Both of us were at the edge of our seats. Asa Ten Pow got the knockout, the first man to knock out Seksan since 2015. It's a big deal. And what happened on the aftermath of this was that Asa Ten Pow didn't get the 50K bonus, and it meant that that's why you see this bandana over his face when he did his interview, because he didn't want to expose his anger. I'm gonna play the interview a little bit here. This was almost instantly after the fight. There was another video that was played on the YouTube page of Nick Atkin, where you see Asa Ten Pow backstage watching a fight happen, where a fighter got a bonus, and he was like, "Yo, but I didn't even do anything to get the bonus." And this guy knocked out someone who no one else could knock out in the one championship, and he didn't get the bonus. Let's hear what he had to say before we go into it.
TKO against Seksan, knocking him down in the first and second round as well. But to be honest, I have to ask how you're feeling that you didn't get a bonus 50K. I think you deserve that.
Yeah, I'm a little disappointed in that. Feeling a little bittersweet, having taken on the man who yields to no one, who hasn't been knocked out, hasn't been dropped like this and won. I put my heart and soul into it, and it's hard for an American to get out here. It's a lot of expenses, and that 50 grand would have gone a long way for me. And I felt like I put on a great performance. I showed a lot of techniques, and and I ultimately won the fight by TKO. And I think I slightly deserve it, or actually I earned it. And Seksan is a legend, and again, I put my heart into it and trained my ass off for this fight.
Why don't you think you got it?
Yeah, Kunchatri, I don't know if you were watching or not. If you are, I hope I did everything that you wanted for this fight, for this promotion. That's what I thought I showcased out there.
Hey, 80. What are your
Yo,
thoughts?
bruh, this is making me feel very sad for this man. But yeah, I mean, he's completely within his rights to feel aggrieved.
Yes.
I mean, he put it perfectly there. The man who yields to no one, he made the man yield. So that alone, I think, is worth a bonus. So I'm really not sure why he never got any bonus. But what does stand out to me there is just like the humility, even in the situation, about how he's approaching it. Like, he's not making crazy demands, saying any crazy shit on the mic. He's very kind of humble in the way that he's approaching it, which kind of just also speaks to what I was mentioning earlier in terms of the way that the one athletes are in the media, like very humble, very reserved, nothing crazy. But yeah, he's fully within his rights. And yeah, I hope that Chowdhury somehow makes this right to him, because I mean, we can all see that he deserved the bonus there, and yeah, he should get
100%.
one. So yeah, those are my
100%.
thoughts, bro.
I completely agree with you, bro. And just to touch base on that, Chowdhury Sittatong, only once in the one championship, I think once or twice, where someone was supposed to, or did a performance bonus kind of performance, and then they didn't get it, and then in the ring he came into the ring to almost stop the antics and said, no, my apologies, and then gave them the bonus. So even Nick Atkin was like, "We're surprised this didn't happen," because I mean, it's Seksan, for example. He fights on all your big cards. He fights for pay-per-view and fight night cards. And then, you know what I mean? Asa Ten Pow goes in there and does that to him. It's like giving everyone 10,000 50,000 baht for like almost half the stuff that Asa Ten Pow did. You know what I mean? People are getting
Yeah.
bonuses for lesser things in one championship than what he was doing, because not a lot of guys can put Seksan down like that, and he did it. He dropped him in almost every round. So yeah, it's a bit sad, but let's hope that one championship, that that Kun Chowdhury gets him that bonus, because I think it's well deserved. Because now it's like, what you think about what the vibe is like with a lot of the athletes in the one championship. Like, we don't know what's going on in terms of how the fighters are getting paid and why we're not seeing certain fights happen. Because I remember there was another thing also that Nick Atkin spoke about, was what happens next with Kriklia. There's no one that's in the world that's that size, the ones that's fighting Muay Thai or even kickboxing. Are they going to forego now an athlete of that talent because they can't find any challenges for him? You know what I'm saying? It's mad, eh? But there's a whole roster of glory kickboxers ready to take him on. But anyway,
Yeah.
that's a chat for another day.
one
Yeah.
more point on that, BG, or something that Asa Ten Pow mentioned there was that it's quite expensive for American athletes to get out to
Oh, yeah.
Thailand. So that's also something that
Mm.
maybe the One Championship could possibly look into. Is like
Yes.
you have this guy fighting on the main card in such a hyped fight. I mean,
Mm.
pay for the brass flight. No, yeah,
Yeah.
you know, and
Yeah.
cover his expenses. So
That's
yeah,
true.
maybe just something to look into there in terms
Yeah,
of
that's
how
a
the
bit
athletes
upsetting.
compete. Yeah.
That is a bit upsetting. But okay, AD, that is our time, my friend. We obviously will be back with more news as the week goes on. Excuse me. But as always, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Let us know your thoughts about these updates currently happening in One Championship. Some spicy stuff are happening. But yeah, you'll catch myself and AD and the rest of the Fighting with Friends panel throughout the week. We got some UFC content coming up. It's UFC 314 as well, so stay tuned for that. We also got a live for that this weekend as well as One Friday Fights 104 this Friday, so stay tuned for that. AD, any final thoughts before we conclude? Yeah.
Yeah, just thanks again for all the love and support. Everyone who tuned into our live stream last weekend. Look out for us again. Come say hi. And yeah, we'll keep it going.
We'll keep it going, of course. All right, ladies and gentlemen, have a fantastic week. We'll see you on the next one. Cheers.